Hello, dear listener. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are and whatever time it is. It's Pete Daly Dixon here of the 6-Star Business Podcast, and this is episode 17. And I'm joined, as ever, always, by my co-host, Evelyn Clark.
Hello.
Evelyn!
Hi, welcome from sunny Australia, East Coast, south of the Gold Coast.
Yeah, we did it. We opened the community. It happened.
I'm so excited. So excited.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've lifted the velvet rope. We start with our Black Tie Gala welcome event in a couple of weeks. And then we'll start our founding members program on the 1st of July. So
I mean, how 6-star is that? A black tie gala. Well, from the waist up anyway. Black tie gala fundraiser launch event. I mean, whoever heard of that? A black tie event on Zoom. But 6-star by name, 6-star by nature. Everything about the 6-star business community is 6-star. Both in it and around it, and the people are it's amazing.
It's almost like, honestly, it's like pinch myself. Really?
Yeah.
Are we really here?
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
So if you wonder what we're talking about, you just go to apply.6starbusiness.community. That's the numeral 6 always. Apply.6starbusiness.community. There's a simple little application form in there, and then you can come inside with the cool cats and lift your business to do better, to create a better future, because that's what the 6-star business community is all about, lifting business to create a better future.
Yeah, that's us. And if you're wondering, well, what's so different about being in this community, why should I think about it? Look, even if it's already you're listening to this podcast, you've obviously got some resonance with 6-star business and being a 6-star individual. We are simply taking this to another level. So the guests that you've heard speak on the podcast and other people who we know who have contacted us, we are bringing everybody together in a container, in a place to allow all that magic to unfold. The magic that happens when there's more than one person, the sum of the parts is greater than the individual parts themselves if you add them up. So it's that collective that we're creating so that we can achieve those goals. We've all got things. I know, Pete, you've got them, I've got them. We think, oh, one day I'd love to be able to achieve this, or one day I'd love to be able to see this happen. And if you're listening to this and you can resonate with that, you might be a little bit frustrated at your lack of speed in making that happen, or there's a money barrier there, or there's a time barrier, or something that's stopping you getting there. Well, that's where community and working with other people and collaborations come in to allow you to do that. So that is why we are here. That's why we are the hosts of this amazing community, and why we are very privileged, proud, grateful, and excited. So, yeah.
I couldn't say it better myself. Yeah, come together, connect, learn, and trade all around 6-star business, lifting business to create a better future. And in talking about people coming together, nice little DJ segue there. In this episode that we are introducing, we brought together two guys in Avon Collis and Richard Lau. Different backgrounds, both in the world of tech. So the conversation could have gone that way, but it didn't. And if you're wondering what the heck I'm talking about, then you've got to listen to the podcast episode to realize. What's your recollection of the call, Av?
Oh, this is wonderful. Both of them so experienced, so knowledgeable. And like you said, coming from tech backgrounds, you would expect a largely technical conversation around metrics and structure and all of the measurable aspects of 6-star. Yet this surprised us again, like they all do. So it's definitely another wonderful, surprising, engaging, and gold nugget filled episode.
Enjoy.
It's good to do the recording late at night. There's no disturbances. There's no doorbell going off. There's a house being built next door. It's actually a good time.
Good.
It is a good time. And talking time, we are in multiple time zones, but welcome everyone. Evelyn, welcome. Avon, welcome. Richard, welcome. Guests and hosts from literally around the globe today. Another Looking forward to another great episode of the Six Star Business Podcast. We always like to, Avon and Richard, we always like to start off just with giving our guests an opportunity to give our listeners an insight into who they are and how they are and where they are and how you got to where you are. So, Richard, do you want to go first and just introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Richard Lau. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. Born in England, came here when I was 5, so pretty much Canadian. But I do have my British citizenship, so I feel like we're part of the Commonwealth here today. I lived in England for a few years in my 20s, and I've been a serial entrepreneur since graduating university. So one company after another. During a short jaunt in there, I did work for another fairly large company, which was a great experience. But it really taught me that what I want to do and what I'm passionate about is building my own companies. And so since then, I've had a terrible exit, which coincided with myself being diagnosed with colon cancer at age 30, and then that I won't take up all the time describing that, but that is life changing. And then since then, I've done 3 exits, in building companies and exiting those companies, and currently I'm working on Logo, proudly displaying it here, which is an automated logo maker. And the things that you talk about here on Six Star is what we live and breathe. And so I thought it would be a great opportunity to share our story.
Great. And you mentioned just at the top that there's no noise. Does that mean there's usually kids running around? And
kids, I'm 51 now, so my kids are 18 and 21, but they are here. But yeah,
not so much
running around as just opening the door and being like, here's a delivery. It does seem like with with this pandemic, we have a delivery truck here every single day dropping something off or food. So yeah, we do have our share of noise.
Well, you must have had an easy paper round as a kid then, because I wouldn't have pegged you as over 50.
Yeah, well, I'm blessed with genes and I think a good webcam.
Great.
Thanks, Richard. Avon.
Hi, yes, I am based in Brisbane. I run a CRM and marketing automation consultancy. We work with a few of the major platforms, generally working on the customer side and trying to, like the person who's implementing the CRM, and try to help them choose what's right for them rather than try to get them to fit into a box. So we also try to build that marketing and experience into the employees' everyday life. So, things like how do you make the employee's life better and the back-end processes better, which ultimately also affect how the end customer is treated, managed, and dealt with. Personal thing from me, I am ex-Army. We've been working a lot with the veterans lately, and we've partnered with a company that they're in Sydney, but they also deal with people in Canada and US and help them transition from military to tech careers. So we've been training them or some of their candidates through Salesforce. So my sort of background history there has led me to an interesting career and some interesting connections later on in life.
Thank you, both of you. And I'd like to sort of throw the question over to you, and maybe Richard, you could answer it first. And you started to answer it in your intro. And that is, what was it that attracted you to the Six Star Business Podcast? Like, what about that, about the name, about the notion of it? What is it that attracts you and excites you?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people are in business and they're just looking at it for the pure profit. It's like, okay, I can set my own hours. I'm my own boss. I'm making my own money. I've got financial freedom, etc. And it's, what they fail to talk about is the customer. And Warren Buffett is really, I admire him a lot. And one of the things that he always comes back to, 2 things really, is integrity and don't forget the customer, right? And the Six Star Business podcast, when I listened to a few of the episodes, and what I really just felt an affinity for is that, you're talking about how to be the best in your business. What makes you the best? What, it's about delivering value to that customer and being the best in your business. It's not, hey, how can I make the most amount of money? Or what's the best profit I can do? Or what's in it for me? What's, how am I, doing a 4-hour work week, or I'm barely working, or, it's not anything of that. It's like, be the best and the rest will follow, right? Your revenue, your profits will follow. But if you focus on being the best, treating your customers well, doing it with integrity. And yeah, to me, it really just resonated with the things that we live and breathe.
How about you, Avon? I mean, you heard about the six-star business a few months ago. What came to your mind when you first heard the term six-star business?
Well, there's a hotel in Dubai which claims to have a 6 star. I also think about, it's sort of in line with what Richard was saying, with thinking about going above and beyond and thinking, for me, from again the military perspective, we have a motto of my regiment was duty first. So it's like, do what has to be done and everything else will follow. And then what has to be done is, having an amazing customer experience, or, doing that very end thing. So there's a little bit of self-sacrifice. There's a little bit of, making sure that the task or whatever it is done to the absolute best of your ability. And, I think back to, there was an an interview with Jeff Bezos before it got really big, when he was just on the precipice, having just sold a whole bunch of books online. There was all these business moguls saying, well, why do you have all these multiple distribution centers when, you could have a central one, you could keep the costs down, it could be more efficient and all that sort of stuff. And he's like, but what about the customer? Like, we want to deliver it to them same day or next day, like as fast as possible. And now they're targeting to do it in 3 hours. And something about that just says, how can I get that amazing customer service in one phone call? Like, they call up, you solve a problem, you offer them the next thing, and they go, yes, can I sign up? Sure. What's your credit card? Put it in, and it's done. And then you hit the go button, they get an email, they get the next step and the next step, and it's just happening. And they're like, it's a little bit too quick for them sometimes. And I think that when you wow them, that's what 6-star says to me.
It's interesting you bring up Amazon there, because from a customer experience, there's no doubt that Amazon is a 6-star business. From an online ordering perspective, Amazon set the bar. You might not sell books or anything else that Amazon sells, but if you're selling online, Amazon is one of your competitors, because of the experience that the experience bar that they set for people. But could it be argued, though, that there are potentially aspects of Amazon's business that aren't 6-star when you read about the way they treat their employees in the warehouse and whatever? I mean, where does that come into being a 6-star? Is it just about the customer? And if you're delivering a fantastic customer experience, then that's all that matters?
So given that I brought up the Amazon thing, I think there are elements, and I think that no one area is perfect, and I think everybody's got to strive to that. But maybe we can take elements from Jeff Bezos and say, yeah, the customer is first. But then you hear reports of people being downtrodden and oppressed because they've got these crazy metrics, and an AI can fire you in a second if you didn't meet the right minimum targets. I would say that is not a 6-star business by my reckoning. I think, by my understanding, that everyone's just got to absolutely love being a part of it. Both the customers, the employees, the partners, the owners, everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And, when you look behind the curtain at businesses, you're going to find a lot of Scotch tape and string. And, some of that Scotch tape and string is not the 5 or 6 stars that they're portraying from the outside. There's the saying, you'll see who's naked when the tide comes in, or when the tide goes out, right? And who's swimming naked. And, it's the truth. It's a lot of companies are portraying that, or, as Avon says, in a certain aspect, they'll be like, oh, yes, I'm treating the customer, I'm doing everything, etc. But they're not paying their employees right, or they're not treating their employees right. And so that, I said it before, it comes back to integrity, right? You're treating everyone with integrity, your suppliers, your customers, your employees, your team members, your contractors. There are business ethics that some people in the US follow, just culturally, that, if you don't have to pay the supplier, don't pay them. If you can come up with a reason or a clause or a contract, it's just like, oh, you know what, you broke this, or we feel that you didn't do this, or they left a loophole in a contract and then they don't pay. It hasn't happened to me, but it's just like, anecdotally, you've got issues like that. And it's just like, you don't want to deal with a company like that. They may be 5-star or 6-star in delivering profits to their shareholders or treating their customers, but it's not a 5 or 6-star company by any means.
That happened to me the other day. They were a migration lawyer, and they said, oh, can you integrate our Zoho with our Xero, so a CRM to an accounting software? And we said, yep, no worries. We can do that. There's an off-the-shelf integrator. We can just set it up for you. We reckon it'll cost between, $400 or $500, and we'll get that done. No worries. And they said, oh, that sounds great, because the next closest quote was going to be $4,000 from a whole bunch of other people who were going to write this full custom thing, when at the end of the day, there's something off the shelf that did the job. We just set it up for them and they were happy with it. But when it came to it, they'd send an email saying, yes, we agree for you to do that we accept between $400 and $500. So anyway, we did the work. There was an issue with that third-party tool. We rang around. We went above and beyond and to get it over the line, and toed and froed and fixed some things and did some extra stuff. And we said, look, it's gone over by 2 hours. So it's, instead of the 500, it was like $650. So there wasn't that much of it. In the grand scheme of things, that's probably not much, really. And I sort of said, look, it's got the $650. It was an estimate. I said estimate, and I said that over the phone, but they lawyered it. They said it in the email. Oh, we only consented to between that smaller amount, and we won't pay a cent more. And I can sit here and argue this, but maybe if they come back to us, we might pad out the next quote, I guess. I don't know. But I tried to act in good faith, and it really wasn't that much of an extra. Why? What do you really need? That's not being 6-star as a customer,
Right. And I think that it's a cheap lesson for you to not accept that customer. If a customer asks you to do something stupid, it's time to lose a customer. The customer is not always right. If they're asking you to do something that's not good for the relationship, then it's not something that you want to be in. And it's an inexpensive lesson to stay out of that customer supplier relationship, because the next time it could be $15,000, not $150.
So how does that? How do you square that? Customer first, but customer isn't always right. That seems like a circle that can't be squared, so to speak.
No, not at all. Because I've been in many different businesses, but I'll just give you an example of when I was in my first face-to-face dealing with customers in a service business, which I think is a fantastic experience for anyone to have to go through, whether it's at McDonald's, or serving someone at fast food, or as a food server, or working in an amusement park, just somewhere where you are a fairly lowly employee in the grind of thing, and you're dealing with frustrated customers, because that is a high pressure environment. And so I was selling pagers, beepers, servicing the customers, and people would be very frustrated with the network, and they would come in and demand for a refund, or why is this not working, etc. And you would listen to them, and if you find that they actually are using it in a way that it should be working, and it's not working for them, then it's not the best fit. It's like you've got an employee who's not doing well in your company. It's not fair to just drag them along for a few years. You're actually doing a favor by letting them go, so that they can find something that they are passionate about, or they are going to blossom in. And if you've got a customer where your product market fit isn't correct, don't drag them along as a customer just to take a few extra dollars. But don't just cut them off either. We have our customer service run by extremely high level people compared to what we could be paying. So, our customer service support tickets are often answered by a programmer who's earning 6 figures, so that they know what the customer's pain points are. But at the same time, there's no love lost if one of our programmers, or one of our customer service reps, or myself says to a customer, you know what, we're not the best fit for you. Here's who we recommend. Why don't you try this avenue? Or how about if you hire this from this company? Or, so we're not leaving you high and dry. We're not just kicking you to the curb. We're with a smile saying, you know what, we're probably not the best fit, but in our professional opinion, this is what you should try.
So it's I'd agree with that, and I'd say being a 6-star business is more about quality So if you're not necessarily doing everything for free, I mean, sure, doing things for a customer and, being very giving is one thing, but that 7-star or 6-star hotel, that I'm pretty sure they don't give the rooms away for free. So it's not about doing cheap, it's about doing it really good and absolutely amazing and have them getting what they pay for. Because if you give too much away, then you can't continue being a 6-star business. You can't pay your staff, you can't provide them the coffee when they walk in the door, you can't do all of the little things that make you a 6-star business.
Agreed.
And what I also heard then was, just combining the two, was what you just said then, Avon, cannot really be effectively done unless you have the right staff, which Richard, you were talking about, and that it's actually important to ensure that you do have that alignment of those staff in the business at that level of integrity that they can deliver the 6-star experience. They can deliver the quality, they can deliver the care. Because like you say, if they're not aligned or they're not passionate or there's something missing, then it isn't the right place for them.
Yeah.
So everything, I would suggest that maybe nothing really would go 100% well if you didn't have the right person in the job. Even if you had the most perfect product, just say the 6-star Dubai hotel, beautiful hotel, luxurious fittings, maybe the quality of the room and soft fluffy tap, like everything's amazing. But what if you didn't have the right staff? Then it wouldn't, the delivery of the experience would lack, there'd be holes, gaps, and that's what I guess we experience from time to time. So it really feels like it's got to be across the board, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I think that the job market is very competitive. It's when you have a job opening or a job position opening, and you've got a minimum set of requirements, you're going to have a lot of people that fit those requirements, and so then you need to separate, well, who fits in with the culture of the company, and who, at a very minimum, has that integrity base, but who fits with the culture and the feel. And that's why it's very important to find that. And when you bring someone on into your company, you need them to take a few days to read through your blog, read through the customer service tickets, listen to past podcasts that people from the company have been on, and get a taste of what the culture is, and get a taste of what the voice is of the company. Because there is, a company, a true company, is a living and breathing organism that is, at the end of the day, is led by its founders and its leaders that are put in place, and they are the ones that disseminate the acceptable culture. So yeah, I totally agree that when you're hiring someone in, you have to make sure that they have the basis for the skill sets and the integrity, but that they have that personality to either adopt and to be open to adopting the change. And for the most part, what we're speaking of, it's a relief. A lot of the people that join a team like this, it's a relief to be able to treat a customer like a human being. But it's not everyone. It absolutely, I have come across, in my early days, I've had come across, a customer service rep having a verbal fight with a customer. And I'm like, what are you doing? You can't, the customer's like, you're stupid. And they're like, well, you're stupid too. And it's just like, you're having a 5-year-old conversation here. This is not at all, this is not right. Absolutely not.
I mean, Richard, you've been in a lot of businesses, you've built a lot of businesses and sold them, and you're working on logo.com now. When you think back over your business career, is there any aspect of business where you think that you've delivered a 6-star, it's that part of the business is more 6-star, if you like, than others? Maybe start with logo.com. And where are you 6-star and where you're not 6-star, and what are you thinking of doing to just raise the bar across the board?
Yeah, so with logo.com, we're mirroring a business process that we did with resume.com, which is you identify the pain points in the industry, you marry it with a category killing, super premium oneword.com domain name that shows that you are living and breathing, and that you are staking your reputation on this business aspect. It's not a single person down in a basement somewhere doing it as a side hustle, but that it's a full business. And then if we are as good as our competitors, in the long run, over the 5 or 6 years, we will, it's just like pushing a snowball down a hill. We will beat our competitors because we have the name and the goodwill behind it. But having said that, when if you can be as good as your competitors, why not be better, right? Because if we know we're going to win the race, just being as good because we have the name behind it, if we are better than our competitors, then we'll beat them that much faster. And so what we look at is, what is it that we can build the team and build our customers, and then the pricing. And so when we look at those three things, we have decided, okay, well, we start with programming first. We don't just do window dressing, but everything that we've done is built in-house so that we can fix problems when they come up. And then we treat all of our team members with the utmost respect, always making sure that we pay on time, that we listen to their voice, that we have daily check-ins, and that we give them the ability to accomplish the tasks that are out there. We don't just, we don't micromanage. And then on the customer side, we view what the customer pays us as a thank you, right? So if we can't deliver something that is extremely high value, for a small payment, then we don't deserve the customer. And so we look at what our competitors are charging, what our competitors are delivering, and we want to over-deliver, charge less, and be able to deliver as fast or faster than our competitors do. And it's not easy. We have some very decent competitors, but what we're finding is that they're not iterating all of the time. A lot of our competitors build to a certain extent, and then because it's not their main focus, they're running 2 or 3 companies at the same time and seeing which one goes. They stop iterating. And so we're like, okay, well, as long as we keep iterating and we just listen to what our customers are asking for, even if we don't have what our competitor has today, we will have it, next week or next month. And so as we're catching up and passing our competitors, we're starting to see our business increase and increase. But in terms of what our 6-star is responding to our customers, if we don't have what they need, we'll tell them. If we have what they need, we'll deliver it. And if they're like, oh, you know what, I bought this logo, I had it after a week, I decided, you know what, I'm not having the business, I'm just shutting it down, we'll give you a refund. Right? We're blessed in that we're in a fully digital product, and we guarantee satisfaction. If you have something from us and then something happens, or you did it at 11 p.m. and 8 a.m., you're like, you know what? I don't love it anymore. Just like, let us try and fix it for you. If not, we'll give you a refund. It's not, you don't need to go down the chargeback route. You don't need to complain to, post a 1-star complaint. Just email us, ask us. We're like the Zappos of the logo business. And that's what we did at Resume. There was a lot of customers in that business that were locked into these monthly subscriptions, and you had to, mail a letter in to get out of the subscription. Whereas at Resume, it was just like, you're not happy? We'll give you a refund. You want a refund for the last 6 months? We'll give you a refund for the last 6 months. We're, the customer, if you weren't happy, we don't want your money.
Sounds like a mindset or whatever of do the right thing.
Absolutely. Treat your customer the way you want to be treated.
What are the 6-star aspects of your business, Avon, and where are you looking to raise the bar?
So I guess from our perspective and in Australia, I think there's a little bit of a digital talent gap. So what we're trying to do is educate our customer base. And we do that by providing, tons of time and training and education around using things like CRM systems and even things like little keyboard shortcuts and Chrome extensions that can make a world of difference. Because, quite often people are stuck doing it the old way, or they're just too lazy to go find a new way. So we want to create a little bit of an ecosystem where we've got a whole bunch of partners and people that can feed off us and we can feed off them. And we're sort of collaboratively working towards creating a better culture around the use of digital tech and that sort of thing. So As far as providing that 6-star, like we'll try and provide some online courses, plenty of YouTube content, plenty of, like we create a forum where we're trying to get them involved and engaged as well, which, it does help us build our content, but it also helps them self-solve their questions and problems before they get to the point of having to, take up our time and, start using, I suppose, billable hours. But, quite often we'll put in extra time and effort because we want to see people with a real business result. So we want them to, use that automation and then save those 40 hours a week or something like that. So when they can sort of get past the initial hurdles, then they go, wow, my mind is open and we could do this and we could do this. And they start asking us, what can we do next? What can we do next? So it changes the game in terms of trying to offer value. People then see that and go, we want to go faster. We'll pay you to go faster.
Yeah, that is an interesting space, Avon. And having been in that industry myself for many years, and Pete being, around that space, I would agree that there's a lack of education. There's a gap there in that education space, combined, like helping users and customers with the tech and enabling them and arming them with that information. So that's really positive and exciting to hear. I'm fascinated with a purely digital product. I think it's, I don't know, an entrepreneur's dream to have a highly profitable or successful business with just a digital product. Yet what I'm hearing from you, Richard, is that you've got this business, which is a digital product, yet you have, I guess, profit-proofed it, safety-proofed it, 6-star business-proofed it with your people by ensuring that there's still a connection. It's not a purely digital experience, in that people can still talk to a human. People still connect with humans, even though the product itself is digital.
Yeah, it's an automated logo maker that, what we're trying to solve is the problem of, when you're building a website or you're launching a new side hustle or you're, revamping your brand, you're having an average of between 5 days and 3 weeks to get a new logo up on your website. And so we want to take that human interaction and pre-program it into an algorithm. Okay, so yes, we're trying to remove the human interaction in that aspect, but really what we're doing is we're front end loading all of those conversations into an algorithm. And that's why we have developers that are North American based, and in the UK actually, because what you're designing into this algorithm is going to produce things that are culturally relevant to, and our target market is North America and the G7. So our programmers need to be, and our designers need to be from those cultures. What we see on our competitors are designers that are, from India, from the Philippines, from Bangladesh, and they are very talented, but they don't have the everyday design aspect of walking through our malls and seeing what are on the vehicles that are driving by. And, so it's a different aspect and it's hard to pinpoint that. But what we're trying to do is take this human factor and put it into an algorithm. So that's one aspect of people are like, oh, it's an automated, all digital product. So what do you need humans for? But that's not it at all, because the people can get a logo for $20 in 20 minutes, but then they need assistance or they need advice, or they run into a problem, or they run into a use case problem, and they need a real person. You don't just put that into a chat bot and let them flounder around. It's like, yeah, we programmed in the automation so that you can get your product quickly, but then we back that up with a fully, far more qualified human team than the customer expects when they're asking, oh, how do I use this? But we're doing that not for the customer's benefit. It's more for our team's benefit, so that our team understands the pain points of that current customer. So because when they solve that customer's problem, they're going to go back into our system and try and solve it for the next 100 customers. So that's why we feel it's relevant and worthwhile for us to overpay for, customer service reps, and it works. We've done that in all of our businesses, and we know that it works to, you don't just outsource your customer service to,
And
$2 or $3 an hour people. You actually put the most expensive people in there, because those people will
Yeah.
solve the problem that is happening over and over again.
that's a really interesting insight. It's not something I think that's come up on the Six Star Business podcast before. Are you saying, Richard, that is a fundamental part of your business model, that you pay over the odds for the people that are responsible for effectively looking after your customers?
Yeah, so anyone who is interfacing with your customer, in a lot of businesses, that's the salesperson, right? And the salesperson can often earn more than the CEO. But yeah, so for us in all of our businesses, whether it was the conference business, the resume business, the logo business, that the customer service and the customer interaction is the most valuable point of your business. And so don't put your cheapest employees there. You want to put your most talented employees there. So yeah, I think it takes some people aback that they're like, what? I'm answering customer service emails? It's like, yeah, we're trusting you with that relationship, right? That relationship is extremely valuable, because if that relationship ends poorly, you get into a shouting match with the customer, and then you're like, you're stupid, no, you're stupid, right? Then that customer's going to go off, and they're going to, rightly so, post 1-star reviews
Yep.
and post, on Reddit about their poor experience. But if they find out that, hey, this guy solved my problem, and then I saw a fix or I saw that added to the, frequently asked questions when my friend went in, or, I got an interaction with the founder, right? It's just like, you're over delivering. But again, I come back to, we're not doing that for the customer's benefit, for that individual customer's benefit, because a customer service rep could solve that problem. We're doing it for the future customer's benefit and for our internal team's benefit. But yeah, to me, that customer service rep position and that sales rep position is the most valuable, because you're interacting directly with your customers.
It sounds a bit like compound interest when you've got.
There's gold there.
Yeah, you've got. It's a bit like
If you have ears to hear.
Compound interest when you've got those little small things that are improved, like you said, with the FAQs, with maybe there's a new support process or a ticketing system or something in the back end that makes it happen faster. And I've spent many a time on many a support chat with a range of different software companies, and it's really frustrating when it's clear that the agent just has not read the thread. Just those little things of take a second. Maybe they've got a metric of.
And he's gone. I was looking forward to hearing the rest of that, given Avon's business as well. And I wanted to ask another question. I might as well ask while we wait for Avon to come back. How do you see automation in general, Richard, as a positive or negative in current day times for businesses in terms of creating a 6-star experience?
Yeah, I think that automation can be used in good ways, and it could be used in poorly implemented ways. And I do think that AI is described by a lot of people in this Terminator style, but really the human X factor is very difficult to replicate. We've spent 2 or 3 years now trying to replicate portions of AI. It's extremely difficult, and so that human interaction, I don't see it going away. But in terms of automating repetitive tasks or medial tasks, or in our case with the Logo Maker, we spin up, up to 300 Amazon web servers when you're typing in your business name and your slogan and you're hitting enter. We're doing all kinds of crunching that you have that would blow your mind, and you'll never even see that those conversations have happened. You just see all of these logos being presented to you, but you don't need to. That's the black box. But yeah, what we're able to do with that AI is take that 3-week process of conversations that we know happen and just squish it down so that you have those in minutes. And then as a human, you're just, as the customer, you're sitting back and you're scrolling. It's, It's like Tinder for logos. You're like, nope, hey, I like that one. Okay, nope, nope. Okay, I like that one. And you'll like it. You'll know it when you see it, instead of having to have these slow, arduous conversations. We know what those conversations are. So as designers, we know what all those conversations are. Let's just have them in the background and then present you with the findings. Then we can then say, okay, well, which ones are you looking at? Which ones are you liking? Which ones are popular? Which ones fit this industry? And then that's where the automation is very beneficial. But in terms of, we still have designers, right? But we're putting them on the front end, programming in the conversations rather than on the back end, which just delays and extends the time for the customer to receive their product. So we're not here to eliminate designers, and we have a lot of designers who use our platform for ideation, for coming up with ideas, for coming up with initial drafts for their customers, and then they customize them from there. So it's an AI tool to help. It's not, by any means, we're not eliminating the human factor.
Do you want to repeat the question for Avon? He drops out. I'm hoping that we can hold on to you until the end, Avon. There's only a few more minutes, although he seems to be frozen. So
there he is. You were mid-sentence talking about being stuck on chat support calls, and then you dropped out. So the question I asked Richard was, how do you see automation helping or hindering businesses trying to achieve a 6-star experience? So I'm keen to understand, given your business and your passion and what you've done for so many years, how do you see automation helping or hindering a 6-star business?
So lately what I've been doing is a lot of stuff around call center or customer service support. So building out all of the systems that happen in the back end when you call up with a product fault or with an issue or something like that. And a lot of the time it's centered around reducing the time to that next answer, to that next step. And it's all the in-between stuff that is really just mundane and it needs to happen. Like the going backwards and forwards about a logo is much the same as someone has asked a question. So we're going to put the top 3 responses on, the help desk for the knowledge base articles that are going to answer that question. Or maybe we're going to put the button that escalates the case to the tech team right up where it needs to be here. So instead of being a couple of scrolls, it's right there. So it's faster. Or maybe we're going to use lemonization in the search. So if someone slightly types off the word, that they'll still find what they're looking for. Or maybe it's going to be, use the AI to help recommend an article. So it's all the in-between stuff that would otherwise still needs to happen. It just puts all the things right in the hands of the person who's providing that customer service. There's no gap, there's no lag. They can answer you in seconds. And it's like they know you. It's like they've been talking to you. That's the only person that's been talking to you for the whole thing. So your relationship becomes with the business as its own brain, as a person. And the human that you're talking to is like the mouthpiece of the business. And so that centralized information means that it, as a business entity, remembers where you are up to as a customer. It remembers the last few interactions you had, what that problem was. Oh, I can see that you've had 2 issues like this before in the last 6 months. What I think we should do is maybe replace that or something like that. So there's a little bit of intelligence offered up for the case operator or for the customer service. So that's the automation I typically deal in. But all it does is just highlight the salient information, because we are all blasted with information every day. All it does is pull up the right stuff at the right time so that it can be delivered super fast and of the highest value, so that the customer just says, wow. In fact, I'm putting together a little show reel of my customer moments where I've recorded things like this, and they're like, wow. And I'm just going to have like a back-to-back sort of show reel. So if that's what you can do for your customer through automation, that for me is the goal.
I got my eye on the time and deeply conscious of how late it is for you, Richard. And talking about time, that does seem to be a theme that's held the conversation together. We talked about Amazon and how the speed at at which the customer gets what they've asked for creates that experience. And Richard, you talk also about the front loading of the conversations and the human expertise in order to get the customer what they want as quickly as possible. And Avon, you just mentioned there about, reduce the time that it takes for a customer to get what they want. So that's been really interesting to me. At the back of my mind, I'm also thinking, are we partly contributing to, this ever increasing pace, and where's the opportunities to just be still and just be relaxed. But maybe when we're thinking about 6-star business and getting our customers what we want, that's not the place and time to be that way. Any last thoughts from anyone on that before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
There's the saying of time is money, but I actually think that time is worth more than money. And so, if you're ever doing an equation where, you're trading time for money, that's something that you're not wanting to do. And that's what, a lot of the internet allows us to leverage, is putting in a small amount of time and saving time at the end. But I think that in the 6-star business, what we're trying to do, I think Avon is right on the same page, is that we're trying to save our customers time, right? So that you spend 20 minutes on logo.com so that you then have that time to spend with your family, or to wind yourself down, or to work on other things that you need to work on. That you're not taking 3 weeks, but instead you're taking 30 minutes. And the amount of time that you're saving, and with Avon's CRM system, it's very similar. Like, if you can save that time for your customer, they're going to thank you in terms of making a payment. And my wife bugs me all the time because I go to Starbucks all the time over their coffee shops, even though I have an affinity for local coffee shops, because of the automation of the Starbucks app. Right? It has that automation in there where, it says, oh, this is the one that's close by. This is what you ordered last time. I order it. But then when I'm there waiting for my drink, I'm not just staring at my phone. I'm having a conversation either with the person who is also waiting for their coffee, or I'm having a conversation with the barista. And so I do see that give and take of, you add in the automation, but, don't forget the human element, right? Don't just hide behind your automation. Don't just hide behind your phone after, as a customer, you've used that automation. Add that human factor back in.
Any last thoughts, Av? I'm just conscious of the time. That's all. I just wondered if you had any last thoughts.
Well, as a last comment, that kind of sums up the whole episode, which I've absolutely loved. And thank you for the journey and the ride that you've all taken us on. I have really appreciated your time and your energy and investment. Very grateful for you being here. And Pete, I know you would be feeling the same way.
Absolutely. Yeah, really appreciate the sacrifice of time and energy, and just value the contribution that you've both made to this global conversation that has started about what it means to have and be a 6-star business. Look forward to getting to know, like, and trust you both more over the coming months and years.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks again. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was another stimulating, thought-provoking episode of the 6-Star Business Podcast.
Thank you so much for getting this far. Please go ahead, like, subscribe, and give us a comment, review.
A rating. If there was a 6-star, we'd love you to give us a 6-star rating, but so just go as high as you can.
And if you want to continue the conversation with us and all the cool people who've joined us from the podcast, head on over to apply.6starbusiness.community.
See you there.